Hey everybody, Gene Ginsberg here. Today we have a very special guest, Brad Weber with Inspiring Apps. How's it going, Brad?
Terrific, thank you.
Well, welcome to the show. This is the Colorado Tech Startup Podcast where we interview Colorado tech leaders and we learn all about what they're up to, what's going on, because there's so much opportunity and just so many tech companies popping up in Colorado. And we love learning what's happening these days. So tell us a little bit more about your company.
Sure. So I founded the organization about 12 years ago. If I go back a bit further than that, I got my start in the Colorado area working for one of the big 6 consulting agencies. Stayed there for a few years and found that as someone who likes to create and build things that people use, I got a little frustrated when we weren't actually completing projects. So started a company prior to InspiringApps where I served just as an independent developer for about 12 years, and then had a desire to build a team where we could tackle bigger challenges. So did so with InspiringApps. We've now grown to 25 people spread between our office in Boulder, Colorado and Austin, Texas, and serve startup companies as well as large enterprises in those markets and around the country.
Awesome. And is it just apps like mobile apps or other apps?
We build web apps, mobile apps, and enterprise solutions as well.
Okay, so everything across the board.
Right.
Gotcha. And it sounds like you work with a lot of startups as well. Being a startup yourself, you work with startups. Is that?
We do, yes.
And what kinds of industries are all across the board in terms of verticals?
It's across the board. So when we work with a startup, we're typically building the product that they're going to grow a company around. Mm-hmm. And we've done that for startups related to music, publishing, medical, retail, hardware integrated solutions. It's been a wide variety, which makes it a lot of fun for us as well.
Yeah, that is. You get to experience all kinds of industries out there. And yeah, that's very exciting. So it sounds like your background is in the tech space, right? You said you were a developer also as well?
Right. Okay. So my school studies were in business, but all of my professional activities have been development related for the last 25 plus years.
And so you started off as a developer yourself and then moved into creating. Okay, gotcha.
Right.
So you have a technical background, that sounds like, which I guess is very helpful for what you're doing now, right?
Right. I do still enjoy coding and staying on top of the technology myself as well.
Right. And how has that changed? I mean, I'm sure that's changing a lot. I mean, I know in the digital space and the digital marketing space and social media space, it changes all the time. How is that changing for your industry?
Tremendously.
Okay.
So when 25 years ago, I was building web and desktop applications. Now very few people ask for desktop applications anymore.
Right.
It's almost exclusively web and mobile at this point. The tools that we use have gotten more sophisticated. The things that we can do with the technology, integrating with hardware, for instance, has really opened up a lot of exciting opportunities for us over the years.
Very cool. And so what do you think is going to be happening in the near future? I mean, or I guess in the next, 5 or 10 years, do you think that there's going to be web apps that build web apps?
I doubt it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I think tools have gotten more approachable as well. So there are a lot of companies that are working to help people learn to code, and the people who know how to code to be able to do even more with the skills that they have. I think that'll continue, but I don't see a time when software is going to be writing itself anytime soon.
Really? Okay.
So there's still a need for professionals who understand how to architect solutions and build at least larger systems,
right?
That are valuable to many of our customers.
Okay, so not anytime in the near future. Maybe
not 10, that I see
10 years from now,
yeah.
Or something like that. Maybe somewhere. Okay, no, that's fair enough. It's always interesting to for someone who's an expert in a specific field and sees the day to day, where they see. That's actually one of my questions: predictions for the industry. But that's down the line. We'll ask that question at the end. And so it sounds like your company's growing. So here are some of your recent wins from Inspiring Apps.
2019 was great for us. We grew our team more in Austin. We grew our business in Austin as well with our clientele there. We shipped a new version of our website, which is quite an undertaking, kind of a classic cobbler's kids, no shoes kind of challenge.
Yes, yes.
so it was great. We shipped a lot of valuable apps in both of those markets.
Okay, and so Boulder was the first office to open up here, right?
Correct.
And then you guys open up an Austin office. Just because you saw there's a big opportunity also for tech companies in Austin? Is that kind of the reasoning behind it?
That's true. There are a lot of similarities between the cities, both Boulder and Austin themselves, and the fact that they're in close proximity to other large metropolitan areas,
right,
is helpful as well. Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, in Texas, and then here, of course, Denver, and really all the Front Range.
Right.
And both have a heavy tech focus. It's a good pool for talent with universities in both of those cities as well. So it's served us well.
That's great. That's great to hear. So, so we talked a little bit about wins. Sounds like 2019 was a great year for you guys. So what about some of the challenges that you're seeing? And not necessarily in your business, but maybe in the industry. Like where do you think some of the, or what are the, I guess, the challenges that you're coming up against when it comes to the clients that you're working with?
Well, I think one of the challenges that we face is probably common in the industry, which is finding staff.
Okay, that's true. That's probably a very big challenge.
Qualified team members. And it's exciting to see some of the big companies coming into both of the markets where we have offices, promises to bring new talent with it as well. But yeah, I would say finding people who are qualified to do the work, ideally on day one. We tend to bring in only experienced employees and look for people who can stay for a long time and make a career of Inspiring Apps.
Gotcha. And what are some of the initiatives you mentioned with, I guess it sounds like Boulder and Austin are having some sort of initiatives for creating programs for software developers or for learning or like teaching how to do software? Is that what you were talking about earlier? Yeah,
not unique to those cities, but there's definitely a trend across the country with coding schools and countless online options if you're looking for a career change and want to come up to speed. So that's what I was referring to, trying to get more people into the market. And we love that trend, but it needs more time to mature before I think the developers that are coming from those programs are ready to tackle some of the big industry challenges. But it's great to have more talent coming into the pool.
So you're saying there's more talent coming into the pool, but still not enough talent for what it is that you and the other companies in your industry are seeing, right?
That's what I'm finding.
Okay.
There's plenty more work to do than there is people to do it.
And do you ever outsource to like other countries, like let's say India or something like that?
We don't. I know that others do, but all of our work happens domestically. We've found that there's value in being able to meet face-to-face, to be on schedules that are similar to our clients. And so that has not been something that we've taken advantage of yet.
And how are you getting around this challenge of finding new talent? Are there anything that you guys are doing specifically to get around this?
Being patient is one.
Okay. All right. I like it.
Yeah. So we don't work with recruiters.
Okay.
So the way that we address the challenge is really to look for ways to share the things that our current employees love about working at Inspiring Apps, whether it be social media or events, just personal interactions. People at Inspiring Apps really like the autonomy that they have, the flexibility, the challenges of the projects that they get to work on, and the quality of the people that they're working with. So just trying to get that word out helps us in our recruiting efforts, our hiring efforts, I should say.
That's fantastic. Do you ever work with like a Galvanize or some other platforms like that?
We have not.
Okay.
No.
All right. I know there's a lot of coding schools like Galvanize, and
there's
a few other ones, I guess, in Denver, Boulder area that I guess you can go for like a boot camp, right, for like 10 weeks and become a software developer.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's great. Maybe something to look into. I don't know. Yeah, absolutely. And so, someone who does social media and digital marketing, and that's what we, I'm very passionate about that. How are you using social media for your business? I checked out some of your social media platforms, and it looks like you guys are posting all the time, which is great. You are posting content. So are you in the know about what you guys are up to with social media?
I have a great team who works on that.
Okay.
So we have a marketing director and designers who take the lead on that. Many of the solutions that we build, whether it's web apps or mobile apps, will enable social media capabilities for our clients or for the end users.
Mm-hmm.
At InspiringApps, we're going through a change now to improve our presence. Historically, we've been delivering the same message to all of our channels, but recognize that we really have multiple audiences to talk to. One would be prospective and current clients, and the other would be prospective employees.
Right.
And so one of the things that we're focusing on for this year is to separate those so that they're not getting the same messages in all channels at the same time. So we're finding that Instagram is probably a better way to communicate with prospective employees, whereas prospective and current clients might be a better fit for LinkedIn or Facebook or something like that.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because I have heard that quite a bit, where Instagram is more used for finding talent, and then places like LinkedIn, which I guess probably is more of a sense of finding clients and that, or at least putting that message out there. So that's great. You guys are kind of separating your messages now, and yes, I totally agree with that, because different platforms have they're different ecosystems, and they have different types of people who are on them, but also different types of content. So creating one size does not fit all when it comes to social media. So that's great that you guys are separating your messaging now. So so what are some of the new initiatives or projects that you're working on at InspiringApps?
Let's see. So we continue to be energized by the startups that we work with, and have a number of those that we're helping now to bring new products to market. Mm-hmm. But we also serve large organizations, and that's probably been the more significant trend for us lately, is to work with large enterprises. We've built apps for Google and Gulfstream and Smartwool and many others in the area and across the country. And what I see is more of that, being able to work with big teams and big enterprises to help them either build products for their consumers or to help make their operations more efficient. And I see more of that, and those companies tend to have different requirements. And so we're focusing efforts on documenting more about our processes and security capabilities that tend to come up in conversations with enterprise that perhaps are not part of the initial concerns of our startup customers. So that'll consume a fair amount of our time in 2019, is to be putting that documentation together.
Right, yeah, because when you engage with much bigger clients, you have bigger challenges, right?
Correct.
Things like cybersecurity and
Yes.
and whatnot. Any other challenges that you find when working with enterprise level companies? Process, timing.
Yes. So one of the things I didn't love about working at the Big Six agency that I was with long ago was that it felt very, very process heavy. Mm-hmm. Sometimes to the point where you were focused more on process than you were on actually getting work done. That's definitely improved, and I see that it's improved with our clients that we work with as well. But there's definitely more process and more friction working on large projects with large organizations. And so that's a challenge, to help them innovate, move quickly in the ways that we do when we're working with smaller companies.
Right. And how are you finding these large enterprise companies? Is it just through referrals? Is it through just because you've been around for so long?
That's definitely helped. Okay. Yes.
Great.
Personal network over 25 years has helped a lot. But we've worked on hundreds of projects over even just the 12 years that InspiringApps has been around. And so helping many clients that are kind enough to talk to people they know and make recommendations has really helped fuel the business.
Right. Okay, that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's how a lot of this growth probably for a lot of companies are. You work with a few people, and then they recommend you, and then it gets bigger, and then it gets bigger, and then you start working with a Google or or one of the bigger companies out there, which of course is great, but then also has its challenges too.
Right.
Yeah.
It takes time for sure. I had a friend who said about his business that it took him 10 years to become an overnight sensation.
You know what?
And it's
I see that. I'm seeing that all the time. This 10-year thing seems to be, I'm serious, like it seems to be coming up all the time. Like
there was something magical about that.
yeah, but it's just that it takes about 10 years to really, from beginning to kind of when the business becomes more more out there and people are more aware of it, it really it takes about 10 years to get to that point. So have you experienced that? I mean, you said it sounds like you've been around for 12 years now. So can you just like any sort of turning point at the 10-year mark?
Yes, not just one event, but if I look back on it now, I can see a significant difference between the first 10 years and the last 2.
Really?
For sure.
Has it just been like, would you say you had more business in the last 2 years than you had in the first 10?
Not quite.
Not that exponential.
Not that exponential.
Okay.
But it's been good, and I would say that that's due to a variety of things. So we made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes certainly in the first 10 years. I like to think I make fewer now, which helps. And we've had a great team to help us through that time as well. I know that our industry is probably known for a lot of turnover and job hopping, but InspiringApps has benefited from a team that really enjoys working there and stays for a long time. So this year, if I were to forecast wins, we are on schedule to have 5 of our team members will have been with InspiringApps for 10 years.
That's crazy.
This year. And we have another 6 who've been there for 5 or more years. So almost half of our team has been together for 5 years or more. And there's definitely a benefit to working together for that long, right, to get to know one another's strengths and weaknesses and so forth. And so I think that has led to some of the ease of operating over the last couple of years that we didn't experience early on.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting to to hear that the evolution of your business. And I mean, yeah, I think we all make mistakes as entrepreneurs as we get started. I think it's inevitable, I think.
Sure.
Especially if it's the first time we're starting a business. So it takes absolutely some knowledge and experience to get it to that point. And speaking of evolving, and I know you mentioned a little bit about that. So how has, your clients' challenges evolved in the sense like their needs? So it sounds like in the beginning, they were mostly asking for desktop apps, and now it's evolved to more mobile and web apps. And do you mean by web apps as in like software, like SaaS products? Is that what you mean by web apps?
Yes, we do. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
So is that been kind of the bigger evolution in like the clients' needs that they're coming to you for?
That's true. So early on, it was similar to some of the trends that we saw with the web when you're talking about mobile, where companies just wanted a website because they wanted a presence.
Right.
And in the early days of mobile apps, it was similar. So it took a while for companies to figure out really what the benefit was to having an app and how they were going to leverage that either for their internal use or to communicate or provide services to their customers. So they've grown more sophisticated, which is great. Those are more interesting challenges to tackle.
Interesting. Okay. And what do you see in the near future when it comes to what your clients will be asking you for? Like, is it just going to be a continuation of mobile apps, you think, and web apps, or are there other types of apps that I'm not even thinking of right now that are coming up in the near future?
Probably so, in the sense that there are probably some that we can't anticipate yet.
Okay.
But our focus for the near future will continue to be on web and mobile and enterprise solutions.
Gotcha.
What I see as exciting for us in the future is that these mobile devices that we've been using and apps that we've been running on them are becoming more aware of their surroundings. So whether it's
the apps themselves are becoming
and the devices.
Oh, and the devices. Gotcha. Yeah.
So to be able to integrate with hardware, we work with a Colorado company that makes indoor gardens, Eden, and to be able to configure your garden and set the lighting schedule and check the water in that garden is fun. Something you couldn't do, years ago.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So more like I guess an interactive app, right? That you can control things with like what are those things called? Like when you have the home app.
Right. Your lighting,
Yeah,
or your stereo system,
exactly,
things like that.
Yeah, you're.
We integrate with wheelchairs. So having the phone more integrated into your physical world, I think is exciting and something that we're looking forward to. The camera, for instance, is one particular piece of that phone that I think is opening up lots of possibilities with augmented reality and being able to recognize objects in your surroundings visually is going to be neat.
Yeah, that is true. I guess I didn't even think about that. Yeah, because so now you're more integrating software and hardware, right? Where before we really weren't really doing that just because of less, like not having the technology available to us. But yeah, now you can control everything from your phone. I mean, not everything, but a lot of things from your phone, right? I mean, you can open up your car from your phone, right? Or start your car from your phone, or
that's right.
Lock your house from your phone from 10,000, from 1,000 miles away or whatever, right?
Exactly.
So
see who's at your front door.
Exactly. Yeah. So are you seeing that to be the case also for the clients that you're working with? Just more projects like that where it's like integration of hardware and software.
We do.
That's very exciting. Any cool projects that you want to share about, or anything that's like this one's a really cool thing that we're working on?
we have lots of exciting things that we're working on, but clients are usually uncomfortable with us talking about it until they're available. So
No,
have to come back
next time. Or anything that you've worked on in the past that you can talk about. Feel free that you thought was an exciting project.
Sure. I mentioned the garden was one.
Yeah.
Maybe more vaguely, I can speak of some retail clients that we've worked with who want to have better visibility into their operations out in stores, to be able to gather photos and data about what's actually happening on shelves that sometimes corporate offices don't necessarily get to see.
Right.
So we built some solutions around that. Let's see, we've been working with some large banks to help people get the most out of their what's probably their biggest investment in their mortgage. And if you're buying a home in the future, there's an increasing chance that you'll be using one of our apps to help facilitate that process.
Really? Wow, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's not just like small one-off projects. It's like people are going to be seeing this out on
that's right.
on the internets, right? That's amazing. Awesome. Well, just a couple more questions. One question I'd like to ask is like, what's one tool that you use that's critical in your business? I mean, it could be anything. It could be Trello, or it could be a project management tool, or it could be a tool that you use specifically for designing software, or a leadership tool, whatever you think might be is critical to your business.
Oh, there's quite a few. So you mentioned project management. That's definitely one of them.
I'm sure that's probably a big one for development, right?
Right. In our role as a developer of custom applications for other people, we often adopt the tools that our clients bring to the table.
Really? Okay, that's interesting. But you have, I'm sure, an internal tool for like managing all of the projects for the clients, right?
Correct.
Right.
So we've used many.
Okay.
Monday, Jira, Trello,
Asana.
Yes. Even GitHub's ticket tracking capabilities. So quite a few. That's definitely critical for our organization. For me personally, I really enjoy. You were talking about designing software, and my iPad paired with the Apple Pencil that is available has replaced notebooks for me.
Really?
And it's been it feels really comfortable as a place where I can add notes and make interface sketches and learn, through other apps as well, like the Books application and so many of the online or digital learning platforms that are available on the iPad. I find that when I'm not coding or otherwise locked to my laptop, then my iPad's been my go-to.
Yeah, that's great because I mean it's something. Yeah, I mean I'm sure you probably used to draw things out a lot on paper.
Yes.
But now you don't have to do that anymore.
And have folders upon folders of those papers that were disorganized.
Over 25 years, it's probably now accumulated to be quite a bit, right?
It's nice to have them all in one place and be searchable.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then the last question I usually ask is, so what is your prediction for the industry? And it could be your industry, it could be self-driving cars. It could be flying to Mars. I mean, anything that you think is like that you predict to happen in the next, I don't know, 5, 10, 20, I mean, whatever, however many years.
Sure. Well, self-driving cars, I guess, aren't a forecast for the future anymore. It's
I
happening.
mean,
Right?
it's already here, right? It's here. So
that's exciting.
But I guess more like self-driving cars for everybody.
Sure. I don't have a specific like product prediction, but one thing, I think it's easy to look at the app stores, for instance, Google Play and the App Store, and see that there are now millions of apps available.
Yes,
and
lots to sift through.
Yes, and think that it's all been done, but I can tell you
it hasn't.
No, and hearing app ideas and web product ideas probably 5 times a week from prospective customers, I can tell you that it's still very vibrant and will be around for quite a while.
I'll share with you one app idea I just heard about yesterday or a couple of days ago, and maybe you can share one interesting one too. What is something that you've heard that's like, you're like, what? This is an app?
Okay, well, I can share you, let's see. Again, clients may be sensitive about specific ideas that have not yet been developed, but I can tell you, let's see, for those thinking about an app idea, perhaps with the podcast, we do get a fair number of people who come to us and say, I want effectively X app that already exists, but I want to add this little extra thing onto it. And X app is usually far more complicated than people realize.
Because they don't understand the backside of it, right?
Right. So it might be like, I want Lyft, but I want all of my passengers to get free pizza, or something like that. I'm like, okay, so adding the free pizza part, that may sound like a small deal, but before that, you have to build software that they spent tens of millions of dollars on.
Do you actually get those kinds of questions pretty often?
We get a fair number of those throughout the year, yes.
Interesting. I can see that happening. They're like, oh, this app is awesome, and I just want free pizza, but you're like, do you know how much it takes to build a Lyft app?
Right.
Or how much time and energy and effort and money?
That can be very eye-opening for people.
You're like, yeah, great. No, I mean, it'll cost you a few $1 million if you want to invest in like building something similar to a Lyft app.
That's right. What's your idea?
So this is not my idea, but this is something that I heard.
Yes.
So this is a dating advice app, which I was like, I wouldn't even believe that this app actually exists, but apparently it exists. It's called Charmed, and it's so apparently like I've been in a relationship for a long time, so I don't use dating apps, but apparently like if you're using some sort of Tinder app, like people take screenshots of their conversations with like the person they're talking to, and they send it to their like friends and family to review and figure out what they should say. Apparently there's an app called Charm that allows you to do that. I'm not sure, I haven't seen the app itself, but apparently it's like a more integrated way of like, if I were dating someone, I would send you my screenshot of like, this is what Bob said to me, and how should I respond to Bob?
Sure.
But apparently you can do this now in an integrated app.
Yes.
So that I did not think was coming, but it's here.
I too am out of the dating scene.
Yeah.
But it doesn't shock me
entirely. You're like not surprised at all, considering that you talk to people and companies that are like, I want to build Lyft, but free pizza too.
Right. Well, and that trend that you just described as well, I think is common, especially for younger generations where they're happy to outsource a lot of things, opinions about whether it be boyfriends or girlfriends or what to wear or what kind of car to buy.
But I guess
that
like
sort of collaborative effort is kind of growing.
I understand that part, but like having an app for every single thing, like then you're just switching from app to, so you're switching from Tinder to Charm to like the next step to the next, so you're just like going on your phone and switching from app to app to app. Maybe that's what the new generation is doing.
Well, that's another interesting maybe tip that I could share is that if there's another trend that people see, it's trying to combine things that are currently separated. But the traditional wisdom, and I think still makes sense, is to build a focused solution. So it's not to try to recognize that over the course of a day, somebody is going to use 10 apps. So why don't we just create one app that incorporates those 10 things? I think that is destined for failure. So trying to focus, although as silly or niche as it may sound, the app that you described, that's probably a better way to go than to try and
Combine Tinder and
yes.
Charmed.
Yes.
But I mean, I guess I can see that being kind of more challenging because Tinder already exists and it's a very large app. So like trying to build a new Tinder might, be of course time costly and I mean all of that jazz. Kind of like what you're talking about.
You're
the
back
lift.
to the yes, exactly.
Creating a lift with free pizza.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure you hear all of these app ideas like 5 times a week, like you said, and all of these different things that you're like, not sure if that's possible. I guess it's possible, but not sure if you can market it.
Right. Well, and think of some of the apps that, and websites for that matter too, but some of the solutions that have come out in the last 10 years had someone come to our conference room and describe Airbnb to me and said that you're going to pay to couch surf. I may have thought that was a little out there as well, but
now Airbnb is a multi-billion-dollar company.
Exactly. So we're not necessarily in the position to judge or evaluate ideas. We're there to help people make decisions, informed decisions themselves about whether or not they want to move forward with a business idea. But we definitely get some creative things that may surprise you.
Well, I guess that's true. There is a lot of creativity here, and a lot of people are thinking about new things that I guess some of us won't even like this Charmed app that a lot of people won't even think that I didn't even think that even existed or had the possibility to exist, but I guess that it already exists. So awesome. Well, anything you want to add before we wrap up? Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Very exciting and learning about what Inspiring Apps is all up to. So thanks, Brad Weber, Inspiring Apps, and we look forward to having you next time on the show.
Great. Thanks, Gene.